Hey, True Believers. Today we're going over Suicide Squad issue 3. And this was a fantastic read, y'all. Anytime Jack Kirby's Fourth World, which in this case is the female Furies, are part of a comic, I am 100% on board as long as it is written well. So let's remember that. And this was written very well. I loved Ostrander's time on Suicide Squad. He really gave us something special, and I think a lot of us slept on it and took it for granted. The print date on this was July 1987. And what makes this particular issue special is this book takes place in the, I guess you can say the aftermath, or in a world that is now post-Crisis. So this takes place shortly after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we focus on this character named the Glorious Godfrey. For those of you that aren't really versed on Apokolips, he is one of Apokolips's minions, and he is able to use his voice to influence people. And after Crisis, I guess there's this event called Legends. I'd never heard of it before, but I guess Godfrey here came to Earth and started using his voice to change public opinion about superheroes and started ousting them, making them bad guys. Well, he eventually overreached, and now his mind is shattered, and he sits in Belle Reve prison. And the way that they do the artwork, where you open up on Belle Reve like this and you just see Godfrey the way he is now, listen to the dialogue and how well it's written. And just think about how these panels match the tone of the narrator. It was a beautiful voice. It was a sweet voice of reason, a voice like a song. The moment you heard it, you began to nod your head in agreement. The melody of it swept you up, even if you couldn't remember the words. You couldn't acquiesce fast enough. He used that voice, and governments trembled, and the speaker himself was swept up in the very power of his own voice. Then he overreached himself, and all his master plans were brought low. The mind was shattered, and the voice was silenced. Now he sits at Belle Reve, a broken reed, while his master considers his fate. I just love how we go from seeing the dreariness of Belle Reve to the hellscape opening of Apokolips with his shadow just, being right there in the foreground, just kind of casting that foreboding as we open up on Jailbreak. And we see Apokolips standing with what remains of the female Furies. This is John Ostrander, writer, Luke McDowell, penciler, Carl Kessler, inker, Todd Klein, letterer, Carol Gafford, colorist, Robert Greengerber, editor. And here we have Lashina, I think is her name, Mad Harriet, Stomper, Bernadette, and her brother, DCEU, who is Apokolips's right-hand man. They're saying, well, why don't you leave Godfrey in that godforsaken mudball prison instead of wasting your efforts to go get him? Because he's saying, I want you to go retrieve this man. And Apokolips says, Darkseid, says that Godfrey's punishment is for him, not anyone else. And Bernadette is saying basically, this is needless for the Furies. And I just love how he says needless, Bernadette. There's a pause, a look. And then look at this beautiful artwork here. It's what I want. So what I always love about Darkseid is he can be the most evil thing in the world, and he doesn't need to lash out like some villains do. Just that stone cold stare sends shivers down your spine. And now think, Bernadette is the sister of DCEU, and he is one nasty customer. And even his look makes her sweat. And she's like, of course, sire, I only meant what my sister meant, oh great Darkseid, is that the Furies need a leader. Barda has defected to that miserable Scot-Free, and Granny Goodness is, well, you yourself in your infinite wisdom dispatched Granny, your highness. And so there becomes a schism. Who leads the Furies? And so Lashina and Bernadette kind of begin to have this tournament. They hate each other, and both of them being of this hellscape planet want to rule. But eventually, Darkseid's the one that puts them in their place and says, go and do my bidding. And then we get into the main characters. It's Rick Flagg. The last 2 issues, I read issue 1, but I don't remember issue 2. I don't remember if I have issue 2 or not. Anyway, he's talking about how the mission essentially went foobar, how he found out that Plastique, one of their members, was a traitor. Another one died. And he's kind of questioning why they use superpowered heroes. Well, Plastique, being the traitor, she was kidnapped, or she was brought back, and she's being brainwashed to forget that she was part of the Suicide Squad in order to protect Task Force X. And even though she is a traitor, Flagg still sees her as a human being, and he says, this is not what we do to people. And the doctors are like, I'm on the ground crew. I take my orders from Waller. You don't like it, you take it up with her. And enter, this part was, with all this drama building up, I like to call this part of the book One Bad Day featuring Amanda Waller. Because here we have Nightshade talking about stuff that happened in the last issues when she was with Nemesis. And essentially what happened when they took out the jihadists, it made her an accessory to murder. And Waller's basically saying, well, you're just going to have to face some bitter facts. She says you elected to do this undercover work. So she says things are going to get nasty from time to time. Now deal with it, period. And then we get a moment with Tom Tresser, who is Nemesis, talking about how he became Nemesis in order to kind of balance the scales of justice and evil, kind of like Batman does, but to a more degree. Same thing with Peacemaker. And he feels like his persona is getting away from that, and he's becoming more of a killer. And I like how Waller's she has all these people starting to hound her back to back. And she goes, well, you got to make up your own mind. It seems to me there's another balance where you owe. Or maybe you just forgotten why you're still smelling flowers instead of pushing them up. And we get into how he took out the jihadists and how he's basically still alive. And that's what she means. And then we have Boomerang coming in and bellyaching, which in every iteration of the Suicide Squad, he's always bitching about something. And that's one thing I like about Harker. He's the guy you love to hate. And then enters Flagg. Boom! This is what I mean by one bad day. He's talking about the mind control stuff. And she goes, that woman's scum. She betrayed the team and the mission. She's lucky she ain't being shot. And so Flagg's trying to say it's immoral and evil. So is your mission in Croc, I forgot to pronounce that. She goes, don't you moan about that. And before any type of resolution or catharsis can happen amongst all these team members with Waller, enter the Furies for Glorious Godfrey. And that's what I mean that's how you write a book. You kind of get in, get acquainted with the characters, and then boom, you are in. The Furies love the artwork. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Keeps you engaged. And so Flagg is trying to, on the fly, just out of the, on the heels of his last mission, now he's trying to bring, who's part of the squad that's still alive or is available. And there's slim pickings. He asks Deadshot, and Deadshot's like, I'm not on security detail. I'm a Suicide Squad member. And he's just like, I'm not having it. And then Harker's like, Harker meaning Boomerang, he's like, booger this, you're on your own, Ace. Some of them incoming might be my old mates, and I won't barney with them. Might ruin me standing in the professional community. He's such a worm, and you can't help but just enjoy reading it because he's such a turd. And then we get Bronze Tiger, can come in, and I think he's, even though I've never really read a whole lot, but like with Katana, whenever he's in a book, I always enjoy it. And he's thinking that this kick will take out Stomper. They don't realize who they're up against, and he is just easily dispatched. And look at the artwork. Again, I've talked about this before, but draw the Marvel way. The whole form of action of how she just swats him like a bug. There's a video that I copied from TikTok and put on our Facebook page, and it was kind of the concept of how to draw the Marvel way, where don't just draw one instance of this. Draw the full motion so it doesn't look stiff. And that's why this older artwork where it's just pencils, to me, still screams fantastic compared to a lot of the 3D models that are used in modern comic books. And then we get this great moment with Mad Harriet, and she just reminds me of like a female Joker. She's just all over the place, and she also kind of reminds me of the Creeper. I think it's Jack Ryder's persona. She's like, "Do you back away from the flames or my power spikes, dearie? Mad Harriet will bring them both to you." And she's just an unstoppable force to reckon with. Same with Lashina. Lashina is not Letitia. But again, she's quickly becoming my favorite Fury. I don't know. And again, I didn't read a whole lot growing up about the Fury and getting into. I thoroughly enjoy. And she's just kind of become one of my top members. And then reading about Bernadette, I never knew that DeSaid had a sister. So going back and reading these books and just getting more immersed in the DC history, thoroughly enjoying it. Now, when you think the mission is over, in comes the insidiousness of Bernadette fighting for the leadership of the Furies. And again, just like with Waller, before any type of catharsis can happen, someone gets left behind for a later story. Who it is, we'll just have to continue reading and enjoying it. And then finally, we get some sort of like catharsis, like release from all that tension. Because remember, Harker decided to bail. And I just love the last panel, and I don't want to ruin the whole book, but I just love how it just ends with, "Oh, shut up," talking to Boomerang. This book has everything that you want in a comic. It has stakes, it has drama, has excellent character interaction, beautiful artwork, everything that a comic should have. So if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. If you have enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little Fury bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.